afternoon. My name is Miguel. I am CEO of Vanguard Assessments. I have about a decade experience in profiling. So my company is hired by organizations, and what we do is we profile their staff to see if they are who they need to be for that particular role. That's one. I have another company. I am VP for Mind You Mental Health Systems. It is a mental health company where we provide therapy and counseling to organizations. Okay. We have an app, so you can take a look at that as well. And those are my two public companies for now. I have a third, but it's still being brewed, so to speak. So today I will be talking about, a little bit about my background. I have a degree in clinical psychology. I opted not to take my license, and I just opted to hire the people with the license to work with me. Okay. What we will be talking about today is basically what are the psychological motivations for human beings, and what is this relation? What do they get out of art? As human beings, what do we feed off from art, right? Okay. So I'm happy to kind of explore the profound relationship between art and psychological needs because of the impact that artificial intelligence is making in the industry. So art has a captivating effect of touching our emotions, okay, stimulating our curiosity, and satisfying our need for novelty. The need for novelty is very important. I'll explain that to you guys later. And of course, using AI as another tool to express those things, to manifest those things. So art serves as a powerful medium for self-expression, right? Allowing individuals to communicate their thoughts, emotions, and ideas beyond limitations of ordinary language. Okay. You can kind of see this in different human cultures, which is why it was good that he presented first, because he mentioned that if you start diving through the historical origins of how Polynesian tribes work with color, work with designs, there is a similarity. There is a pattern that emerges, and if you're able to teach the AI to do that, it can replicate it. Okay. By engaging in the creative process of using art, individuals find a means to convey their deepest desires, fears, and aspirations. While traditional art has been the domain of human creators, AI has become to contribute to artistic expression through generative algorithms and machine learning techniques. AI-generated art challenges our perception of creativity and the boundaries of self-expression, opening new possibilities and expanding our understanding of artistic creation. So, if you guys do a little reading, one of the last colors that kind of evolved in the spectrum of what the human eye can see is the color blue, right? So AI is now allowing us to go beyond what we are biologically predisposed not yet achieve or activate or to see or to imagine, right? It's a fantastic supplemental tool, right? Okay, I'm going to stop here. So far with the introduction of the ability for expression with art, has what I shared been meaningful to you? Okay, because my entire speech was written by ChatGPT right now. There is nothing in this presentation which was also AI generated. That I just gave it a few keywords, and I just ran it, right? So how do you feel knowing that the last 3 minutes that I was kind of talking to you, explaining to you, using my credibility, how did it make you feel knowing that I never wrote a single word?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. So I'm not here to put AI down. I'm here to just pose a question. Right? And that's really what we are going to be talking about today. How does it make you feel knowing that there was no human being at the end of that production? Right? It's a little, I mean, I can see your eyebrows twitching a bit. It's not an absolute, it's just supposed to be a philosophical question to start the idea and to try to figure out what's your relationship with AI and art. Right? So, this entire presentation, that's all ChatGPT, and I actually agree with it. I read through it, and it is as if I had wrote it, considering my decade-long experience in psychology. Of course, the initial version was a bit basic, and I had to curate and guide it to be more specific. But nonetheless, in my line of work, no one would have known, right? So I was planning on going through half, but I got tired. I got tired looking at the screen and reading the script, and I wanted to communicate with you guys more. So, at the core of what ChatGPT is trying to tell us here is that there are about three, there's several more, but there's three things that art gives human beings, right? A means to introduce ourselves to a new persuasion, a means for expression, and a means for novelty. Right? I'll start with novelty because this is something that we don't generally understand. So have you read about scrolling, the doom scrolling, where you just scroll Facebook? Okay? What's happening there is not that you're looking for content that you like. Your brain is just looking for something new. And that's where this is being recorded, huh? I don't want to use the word addiction, but that's where the stickiness of these technologies come from. Your brain is constantly looking for that new high, right? Because Facebook already knows what you want. Facebook already knows what you like. So, seeing the same things will actually bore you. So what's motivating you is the newness of everything. If I swipe up, will something new show up? Okay. And that is what art does. Not that it makes you addicted to the context, but it is introducing novelty. And that novelty is given by the artist, whether it's used by AI, if it's used by AI, watercolor paints, things like that. Just for context, for the artist, I do charcoal, right? My family made me go through training, and I didn't like water or oil, but I like charcoal. Okay. So are we understanding what novelty is and how novelty actually drives us? Even if we are partially interested in what we actually find, it is the experience of finding it that we are actually attracted to. Okay, that's one. Next is expression. There is a limitation in the human language to properly and accurately express ourselves, right? I can never explain to my wife how I love her and what would be the truest word that will reflect that. It will always be an approximation, an estimation, a healthy or an accurate estimation, but it will not, that the words that come out of my mouth and the art that come out of their fingers will be always an approximation. Okay? And that's why art is a fantastic form of expression and catharsis. Because there are just things in the human experience that words cannot share. I was speaking to one of our Australian partners, and we were talking about what would be the messages, what is the core message of what we're trying to do for mental health. And just to show the difference in language, for the Filipinos in that call, we felt that the Filipino word ginhawa is actually the most accurate thing that Filipinos seek out for mental health. And the closest approximation of the English language to ginhawa is what? I mean, comfort. That's one. But it doesn't. Relief, right? But it still misses something, right? And that is just an example of how our ability to connect is always limited. And that's why art is so important. Because it is in the art that we are able to kind of encapsulate these universal and abstract feelings that normal words will not be able to convey. So, the artist is using not just language, visuals, even, but all the senses to try to convey this idea in their head to the best of their abilities. It's never going to be perfect. Okay, it's never going to be perfect, but because it is open-ended on the side of the artist, there is that chance that the person who sees it will resonate and see the meaning of their work. The last one of the three, there was a long list, but I wanted to simplify my life because ChatGPT was right, but too long. Perception. Perception is what artists try to convey. What is my perception of this? What is my perception of that? And having the human experience of having access to a different view, a different perception of something, allows the transferring of these universal realities or truths that we experience as human beings. Right? Because the artist is controlling your perception. This is, I have created the path. This is how you consume the content so that you can see the way I see, so that you can eventually experience the world the way I experience it. And these three things are major motivations for human beings, right? The ability to express your emotions, right? Have you guys heard of the concept of catharsis, right? Raise of hands who doesn't. I just want to make sure. Okay, so catharsis is basically you go through a process that unravels all your emotions and gives you clarity to the situation. There's a bit of an internal transformation, right? All art, be it painting, literature, whatever, is always trying to take you to that cathartic end. I come in one way and I come out a different person. I come in with something new, a different understanding, a different perception, a new emotion that I never knew I had. Okay? So, just to parang professor, no? Just to recap. So we have self-expression, perception, and sorry, what was the other one? Novelty. There you go. So these three factors are one of the core components of why people enjoy art and seek out art. The human being needs these three things. If a human being cannot allow the perception of something else into their life, they become unbearably difficult to be with because they are unchanging. And not just unchanging for themselves, but unchanging for those that want to be with them. Right? If a human being cannot express themselves accurately, effectively, it keeps them in a bubble, traps them in their own world, and they will feel isolated even though they are with others. Right? And then lastly is, of course, novelty. Have you guys experienced Facebook? You know, you're going through it, and you know, you've seen this before. You know, you used to like cats, and then you know, Facebook just gives you cats over and over again, and the novelty's gone. I mean, maybe you'll stop for one or two, but then you go on, right? And that's what really good art does. It introduces something so new to you, whether it's what you see, what you feel, what you hear, what you taste, that it opens up another part of yourself that you have never thought existed, right? So AI is just, in my opinion, okay? I mean, we have attorney here who might have a different perspective. We have big business that might have a different perspective. But just like what I mentioned with the color blue being the last colors that the human eyes can see in terms of our evolution, AI is kind of functions that way. How can we further explore the world in elements that we've never tried before? Okay? So the last one I wanted to discuss, and this is a question to you guys. If I read through this, it would have been perfect, and you guys wouldn't have known, right? And this is where I have a personal concern with AI. Is it the perfection that is beautiful or the imperfection? Our brains are wired for symmetry. Symmetry is a sign of healthy genes, youth, healthiness. And had I gone through this, it would have been perfect, right? So the question is now, does art need to be perfect? Or does art need to be imperfect? Or it doesn't matter? Okay. If it becomes perfect, does it become less human? Because we're definitely imperfect creatures we're imperfect creatures trying to perfectly express ourselves in an imperfect manner. And what if AI perfects that expression? Is that still art? So obviously there's no answer yet, right? I'm just proposing the question of so that you should generally walk away with the question of, does art need to be perfect, or does it need to be imperfect? And if a human being is now able to perfectly express those abstract things that he could not do before until the advent of AI, like what if AI allows that every time anyone looks at this, they will experience 100% what the artist wanted them to experience? Meaning, you look at it, it's like, how do I say this? If you drink coffee, you get hyperactive. It's causal. There's no other version of how that future plays out. If AI allows us to create art, that the moment you engage with it, it gives you the same path to accurately reflect what the artist wants you to experience. So it's perfectly executed with a perfect outcome. Is it still art? Is it the art that we know? And is it the way we want art to go? Because AI is opening doors as to the possibilities of expression. And it's getting smarter and better that it's doing it, it's executing it and replicating it in a way that it's very effective. And that's why I proposed that question, because if this technology allows us to do leaps and bounds in art, because it's executed so perfectly, it is potentially perfect. So that's just the philosophical question that I wanted to answer. There's really no right answer for that, right? Recap: expression, perception, and novelty. These are one of the three core things that human beings seek out, whether it's in literature, paintings, movies, stories. so on and so forth. Okay? So I hope I didn't stress you guys out, but I definitely wanted you guys to have something to discuss. Okay?